Yeah.
Yeah, really a busy morning. I started off the morning watching the news as always, having my coffee. And the weather girl comes on and she starts talking about this compound planet thing going on. It happens, I don't know, like once every 80 years.
What is that? What's compound planet?
I think it's Saturn and Jupiter
They get near each other in the sky?
Yeah, in their orbit. So it looks like there's a dual planet kind of thing going on. And then she goes, and you know who has a really good view of that? Santa in his sleigh. Huh, Dave? I slapped the laptop closed.
Santa in his sleigh. Well, we're at that time of year.
I know. And I talked about that last year. That drives me crazy because it's like, how many 4-year-olds were watching this whole gig about the compound planet?
Yeah.
You're talking to me about Santa in that tone of voice. Right, Dave?
Right. Good morning.
Yeah, so here we go with that. A whole 3 more weeks of that. I'm not going to be watching a lot of morning news.
Right.
Welcome to Over 50 Starting Over. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
So how you doing?
Funny. I'm doing pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So it got me off to the gym earlier than expected, which is good because I like to – sometimes I miss going to the gym before the show because we do it really early. And
yeah.
And I like to have the workout under my belt before we get. Yeah, it gets.
Did you get one in today?
Yes, I did. A very good workout.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Gets rid of the cobwebs and gets my blood going. So yeah.
I basically just roll out of bed and just, hey, good morning. Hey, Barry.
I know, and
I don't really do that. I wish I could, though.
Well, almost, because it's 6:30. 6:30 for you. It's
I know. I wake up. I have to wake up considerably earlier than this, so in order to be awake by the time I get to this show. So yeah.
Hey, so much has happened since our last show, which was 9-10 days ago because of Thanksgiving.
Yeah. No kidding. So, right.
First of all, it was Thanksgiving. And we really killed it. And I got some pictures that I'm overlaying here because we took some pictures of the spread, as I told you we would, because I'm going to say it again. We just dedicated ourselves. We had it alone, just Lisa and I, and we're dedicating ourselves to making these holidays as special as possible during this really messed up year. And we killed it. We did a heck of a turkey, a little one. And Lisa did the stuffing. She did 2 pies, green beans and Brussels sprouts. And it was really special. It was really quaint. We decorated the day after. I decorated the day after Thanksgiving. I have pictures of that.
Did you really? Wait, you did that? That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's special. It's a new decoration. I say I did it. It's all Lisa's design. And I mean, she picks out everything.
I'm kind of reading between the lines here.
Yeah, so it's
Lisa's design
across our archway. Oh, I got to Photoshop it, mind you. She finds this stuff in the magazine. I got to take photos of everything and Photoshop it all together.
It's your project.
It is. Yeah. So then I got to put it out there, and it's really special. It's our first year for doing that. So we do seasonal decorations now. And Lisa thinks the neighbors are depending on us now for this.
They have to be. She's right.
Sure.
Get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is really special. It looks really great. And then right on the heels of that, Merle, about 3 days ago, we got this horrific snowstorm.
Oh, you're kidding.
We got about 18, us right here on this part of Cleveland, we got about 18 inches of snow in one day.
Oh my gosh. Already?
Yes.
That is in what day? That was this week?
Yeah. When was that? I'm thinking Tuesday or Wednesday or something.
Wow.
It was just a few days ago, because then the next day it's really sunny and 38 degrees and it's melting again, and it's beautiful today. It's like That's 43 funny. Right now and sunny. So
oh my gosh. 43.
Yeah, and for this time of year, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
Average.
Yeah.
That's about average.
Yeah. And sunny. You're lucky.
Yeah.
to have sun right now. Soak
Well,
it up now. Soak it
I
up now.
I go to the gym in my shorts, uh, tennis shoes, and t-shirt, and just a light jacket, and I'm comfortable in this kind of weather. If it's sunny out and stuff, it's really nice. I'm just saying, we've seen the gamut since the last time I talked to you.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty wild. Well, I'm glad that everything worked out for Thanksgiving. You said that you were putting some pictures up.
Yeah, yeah. So I will. You haven't seen them until post. When you,
Okay, all right.
yeah,
I just had to make sure there. Yeah, our Thanksgiving was really nice too. We had my kids over, Brandon and Hallie, and Scott and Karen came over as well, my brother and sister-in-law, and I told you that boy, we had a spread. It was so
yeah,
good, Barry. Everything was good. Like
yeah.
it was a home run. Everything that we made was really good. Anne Marie made some just out of this world dishes. Everything put together, it was like just you just close your eyes and wherever your fork went on the plate, it was gonna be good.
Wow.
I made probably the biggest turkey I ever made. I don't know why I did that because it wasn't like we had a ton of people or anything like
Right.
that. But I did make a 25-pound turkey.
Wow, that is a big turkey.
It was ginormous, and I had my turkey recipe and everything. But the problem was that Anne Marie had so many things she had to put in the oven before Scott and Karen showed up at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon that she needed the oven by 7:30 in the morning, meaning that I had to have that turkey cooked by 7 in the morning. And we didn't want it cooked too early so that it was sitting forever. So I started cooking that turkey at 11 o'clock the night before, and it got done at right around 7 o'clock. The problem was the recipe called for rotating the turkey every 30 minutes.
Oh.
So I was up all night wrestling that darn turkey. And I'd turn it, you gotta bend all down there and wrestle a big old bird out of the thing and not
Trying not
slop the
to
juice out of there.
try not to
Yeah,
burn your
burn yourself.
forearm. Yeah.
Exactly. And so then I'd go into the living room and I'd sit down and go, okay, I got a half hour. Should I sleep? Should I watch TV? I don't know. Then by the time I decide what I'm gonna do, the buzzer would go off again.
Wow.
And I'm back in there. And that to happen until 7 o'clock in the morning.
Did you
Then,
get
then
any
Anne-Marie,
sleep?
no, it was like Twilight Zone the whole time. Then when Anne Marie came downstairs, bless her heart, she needed me to go to the store to to pick up something. So I've been up all night. I'm at the store like a zombie. It was crazy, but it was totally worth it. It turned out wonderful, and I mean, the rest of the weekend, I didn't have to do anything, which was great. Anne Marie did want to put up the Christmas decorations, but I was whipped. I couldn't.
I
couldn't
bet.
do it after that.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, I wanted to give you a meditation update because last time we talked about that, about 2 weeks ago, I was saying how I was battling negative thoughts, and I've been worried about my seasonal affective disorder going into dark holiday seasons and COVID. So sick of COVID.
Yeah.
And so I've been really trying to step up the efforts in a lot of regards. So it occurred to me, Merle, that we talked about, I used to meditate quite a bit, and I still do the guided meditation with YouTube videos and stuff. I do that a lot at night. And but during my workouts and stuff like that, for years, I have gotten into just the podcast habit. So
Right.
I go there and I'm listening to my podcast, and it's usually productive. I do some comedy podcasts, but a lot of online marketing stuff, a lot of kind of the self-help kind of stuff, Wayne Dyer and some other things, certainly a lot of Jordan Peterson. So it's productive, but I no longer am using that time to quiet my mind. And that's a
I
habit.
see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead, I'm occupying my mind.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a habit that I kind of gotten out of. And I mentioned before that there's several different types of meditation. And I believe that I am back to the very beginning phase where I have to do the mind dump. I have to just kind of, what I've been doing, I'm back to because I'm not riding my bike to the gym now. I'm now
Right.
driving there and finding my hamster wheel of choice, as I say. It's usually the elliptical.
Oh
And
yeah.
So I have to find one where the TV screens, like I don't want TV screens blinking all around me. I don't want
Mm.
sensory overload. I want quiet.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and it's been easy to do during COVID. And I'm just staring right at this big giant window outside and no TV screens going on. But what I have to do is on my phone with my earbuds in, I pull up YouTube, comma, white noise. And it's
Oh,
simply yeah,
I
it's
know what white noise is. Yeah.
yeah, so I listen to that to block out that god awful music that they
Yeah.
pump in.
They never play good music in gyms, do they?
It's like what's up with I know that they're trying to find the biggest middle of the road to
Yeah.
appease and not offend, but they pump in 14-year-old girl bubblegum music.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's terrible.
horrible.
It is terrible. I agree.
And Planet Fitness, the average age is probably 35 to 40 years old, somewhere in there.
So
So I don't get it. I don't
why are
get
they
it.
doing that? I think they all have like it's like the gym music, right? Like
I
they all
guess.
tune into the same station.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. So I have to put on that kind of the white noise, but it's still that stuff. I'm sounding like an old man here. It's a little too loud.
They play that rock and roll.
Can't understand what they're saying.
Whippersnappers.
So I try to do the white noise. And the point of this is so for 10 minutes, and I'll probably extend that as our season progresses, but for 10 minutes, I just kind of stare ahead at the trees on the horizon and stuff and try to keep my mind clear. But at this point, I know that's going to be really difficult. What I'm more doing is just observing the thoughts that are bombarding me
Mm.
and going, okay, I acknowledge you, on to the next. Okay, I acknowledge you, and try to have a few minutes of peace where I connect with nature and then try to simply build upon those moments of quiet in my mind. That's where I'm at right now. I can build up to the point where we talked about before doing, I don't know what the name of it would be, but more the concentrated meditation where I told you about the Wayne Dyer version where you concentrate on the Lord's Prayer and visualizing the letters like
Yeah, we talked about that.
yeah, like my father, and you see the M, and then you see the Y, and then you concentrate on the space in the middle. And
Yes, yes.
that's called getting into the gap, completely clearing your mind, because when you can put together, string together more of those seconds into 20 seconds, into a minute of not being bombarded by conscious thought from your ego. Those are the thoughts that are like verbalized in your language. Usually you have, it's a voice put to them as well. And you can live more from your soul and your heart. That is where you get your purity. Like if you can do that and then enter into your workday of tasks without judgmental thoughts entering in, but being able to clearly just concentrate on your tasks, you're going to do them better and you're going to be happier doing them because you're coming from more of a pure source, connected to source instead of
Yeah,
ego.
I love what you're saying. I mean, obviously we talked before about the Wayne Dyer thing and the Lord's
Dyer.
Prayer. Oh,
Dyer.
Dyer. See, I always get it's my job to get this wrong.
It is. It is.
But Wayne Dyer.
Mhm.
Uh, anyway, I've almost forgot what I was going to say. But oh yeah, the Lord's Prayer. I was thinking about over this whole COVID thing. That for a long time I was meditating on a particular scripture, Psalm 91. I think I brought this up before, but it's very a little bit different take on how I do this. But every line of it, I memorized it's a Psalm 91. I memorized it. It's about 18, I think, verses. And as I would memorize it, I would say uh, everything that I would think about, every line I would think of in that scripture. For instance, 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. And then I just take that scripture and I'd think about, what does that mean? What does that mean to me? And as we take a look at, for instance, COVID-19, you're seeing, well, gosh, it's a horrifying thing. It seems like people are dying all around you. Is it going to happen to me? And the more I focused on, but it shall not come near me, and some of the other promises that it compares me and my relationship to the Lord like I'm inside of a safe house or a fortress. And I think about, oh, I'm inside of a fortress, and I imagine that. I don't know, something about that after I'm done seems like I'm on automatic pilot where I'm just not worried about those kinds of things anymore. Just that kind of meditation, when you're focusing on something really positive like that, seems to be helpful during this time of darkness, I would say, that we're in right now.
Yeah, and when more and more people do this, there's studies that back this up, that you actually raise the consciousness level of others around you as well. But you can see that in your own experiment. When you walk into a room in a great mood, you're in your zone, you bring everybody up around you.
That's really we talk about this all the time, and it's just the effect of the people around you is really sort of our purpose on earth, right? It's not all about me, it's about everybody around me. I saw that movie about Mr. Rogers over this week. Have you seen that yet?
No, but I would like to.
I didn't see the whole thing, but what I saw was amazing. First off, Tom Hanks, what a great actor he is. I mean, he's one of the best. He's been in some real bloopers during his career. A couple of them come to mind right now.
None come to mind.
Really? How about that one where it was like a bachelor party? I think that was the name of it. Oh, it was dumb. It was really dumb.
Yeah, I probably didn't see it, but I mean, you say him, and I'm thinking all the way back to the kid, the one where he's like a kid.
Okay. That wasn't one of my favorites, but I
thought he was really good. Of course,
I thought he's a great actor in that movie. Yeah. But remember the one where he was like dating a mermaid, and I mean, when he first started,
he did silly ones.
Yeah, that's what.
But even that was a hit too, though.
I thought it was silly, but what was that? Bosom Buddies? Remember that show?
That was his big break. I never watched it. I don't think I ever saw a single
If you watched it today, you'd probably think, what a dumb show that is. But I liked it at the time.
There are shows that were, that are silly, and you kind of just watch to throw away that portion of your day to unwind or something.
Right.
But just the other day, I pulled up some Seinfeld. Old Seinfeld.
Okay, that never gets old to me.
That's my point. You talk about quality. Look at even Andy Griffith.
Oh, I love those shows.
Still, look how old those are. So
there's something in common. There's something in common between those two shows.
What?
It's very interesting. Okay, so
I know what I would say. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear what you were going to say.
Oh, I've said it before, I think, on the show. I've said it to your brother before. He and I like to talk about comedy stuff. I said, Kramer, I don't believe there would be a Kramer if not for Don Knotts. Don Knotts.
Yeah, that's great. I like what you're saying. Right there.
He laid the foundation there.
Any episode.
High bar.
Yeah, he did. You're right. I love Don Knotts. He was so funny. But no, I'm talking about the theme music. Okay, so Seinfeld's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch it for like the first 3 years, the first 3 seasons, because as soon as that music would come on, that whole.
You mentioned that before.
I'm like, that sounds so stupid. I'm not watching this. I would never watch it. And now with the Andy Griffith, with that.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie will not watch that show. I love that show. Sure. It's one of the things we can't share together, because as soon as that music comes on, she's out of there, man. She's not watching that show. And I'm thinking, if she would just sit down and watch that show, it'll probably be her favorite sitcom.
Agreed.
Just like with the Seinfeld when I finally watched it.
No, I did not. I had 3 thoughts that entered my head all at the same time there. But I wanted to say, we probably mentioned this a long time ago, but I was always amazed after I got older and smarter that All in the Family Now look
Yeah.
how old that show was. And
Right.
Gene's I'm talking like Don Knotts, that kind of thing, the
Hmm.
characters.
Hmm.
Gene Stapleton and Carol O'Connor came right out of the gate and nailed those characters.
They really did.
I mean, that's impressive, you know?
And Carol O'Connor's part as Archie Bunky is Monkey.
Bunker. you're tearing everything up today.
It's not even 7 in the morning yet. Archie Bunky. Hold on. Archie Bunker. If this is the epitome of a typecast character, like how can you play anything else after you've been Archie Bunker?
But he did.
He sure as heck did,
Yeah.
and he was. That just speaks to what a great actor he was.
Absolutely. Now, another show that I didn't think anything of until it came out in the syndication. I never watched Friends until about 5-6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Because Seinfeld was on at the same time.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I liked that show too. Those were two great shows.
I started watching it, on Netflix or whatever all those years later, and I was like, oh my God. And Lisa would always talk about it. I'm like, yeah. Well, I start watching it. She's like so happy. She's like, oh, you finally understand. And oh yeah, that was a high quality show.
Yeah, it was a great show. It was a great show. I hear that show has been under attack lately,
because we're putting
networks,
because we're putting modern day ultra sensitive what's the word, morality,
mores, yes,
onto a show that was over 25 years ago.
That's right. That's right.
That's so stupid.
Yeah,
why don't we go back and attack everything from the 60s now?
Right.
Okay?
Well, All in the Family would be one of those on the list.
Yeah.
Like you could never. Can you imagine a show like that coming on today?
Dingbat. Yeah.
I mean, there'd be like people protesting and marching outside of the studios and everything. But go ahead.
No, I wanted to your point, I think that it's kind of like tearing down the statues.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah. How about if you appreciate the art, the creativeness, the accomplishment of that time for that time? Like, come on, All in the Family. As you said, I'm sure it's being attacked right now that we just haven't heard about. But look what it always did for our sensibilities. Like Archie Bunker was the racist, and it was mild, but that was, he was put on a pedestal as a racist to be torn down. And then they brought in George Jefferson to do the exact same thing from a black perspective.
It was
that
great.
was high art. It was high art.
Those two in the same room together, those were the best.
It was the best.
But the dueling idiots.
Yeah, but my point to this, trying to cancel everything now in the past, and they're doing this all the time about trying to apply today's so-called, it's hypocritical morality to things that are decades, years old when times were different.
Yeah,
I agree. It's the silliest thing, and I think it makes people look really dumb and shallow while they're trying to look intelligent and superior.
It's the whole virtue signaling thing.
There you go.
That's exactly what it is. Let's see. There was a movie. Oh boy, I'm never gonna get this. Let me go back to the Tom Hanks movie that I was talking about before, with Mr. Rogers, and we were talking about not being focused on yourself and focusing on other people, and how that brings a joy into your life. The movie's the epitome of that. Mr. Rogers' life is the epitome of that. His ultra focus on other people and their needs, and not thinking of himself, and yet carrying this inner joy wherever he went. And the movie really brings that up. It really messes up the main character, or the second character in this. But it's really cool. It's a great example. I don't know. Did you watch that show when you were growing up?
No, I never knew anything about him really, other than the kind of hearsay. I mean, I don't know. Did it compete with Captain Kangaroo? I watched that. Kind of like Friends and Seinfeld.
You're watching Captain Kangaroo.
Sure,
I'm not watching Mr. Rogers. Right?
Yeah, no, I didn't know anything about him. But I remember reading about the reviews, because I figured it's going to be a typical, the guy's probably outed as a pedophile or some other kind of crap.
I thought that's what was going to happen actually in the movie.
Yeah, what I read. Yeah, so I did a little quick reading on him. I never knew anything about him. And it just all seems to be, he was one incredible guy,
Yeah, he
one
was.
incredible role model.
He he really was, and
Can
I
you
even
believe
liked.
they actually did a movie about that?
In this day and age,
Yeah,
it is kind of hard to believe that they would
yeah.
do a movie about that.
Hey, you go.
Anyway,
Oh, go ahead. Oh, about the movie.
no, I was done with the movie. I was ready to
Okay.
transition on, but go ahead.
Oh, I just had a thought. All this stuff we are talking about, that in the morality, hypocritical morality. So, I work out at Planet Fitness, and I couldn't wait to get there. They were building this gym. It seemed to take forever, and I couldn't wait to get there because I'd been working out at LA Fitness forever at this point, and it was driving me crazy. I mean, talk about the music, holy crap. And then but it was the kids, mostly the like college age kids, that were just throwing their weights around, acting tough all the time, and just so much ego in that gym. And I couldn't wait to get out of there, because Planet Fitness is all about the no judgment zone, and it's anti meathead mentality, that kind of stuff. So I thought,
Yeah,
yeah, and I do love the gym, and it's really clean. So I like that. And people are generally chill. But the whole no judgment zone, oh my God, they take it just to what I was talking about, the hypocritical morality. They have this big sign. I should take a picture of it to put on here. Uh, right around their little alarm says the no lunkhead zone. And then they have this definition, like, a Webster definition of what a lunkhead is. And I don't have it written down, but it's all about somebody that's wearing the string tank top, something like that, and dropping their weights, trying to look cool. Don't be a lunkhead. It's all this shaming, you know, and it's supposed to be
yeah.
the no shaming zone. And
It's
so they
that's
create their own.
hilarious.
They create their own, create their own term and extent on shaming. It's just when you go too far, and you become a hypocrite.
It seems like that's pretty prevalent today.
Yeah,
It's I don't know, what is it, irony that we're talking about here. I don't know what the terminology.
extremism. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's pretty common that the thing that you're so against is the thing that you're the expert at doing.
Isn't that funny?
It's crazy.
Hey, you
Uh,
said you wanted to switch gears. Go
yeah,
ahead.
just transitioning out a little bit here into some things that are going on. I wanted to let you know, out here in California, in Los Angeles, man, things have really
I heard
ratcheted up as far as the restrictions go on everything. I
it's
was telling you
all
about
in the national
Thanksgiving,
news. Yeah,
and really, I'm glad to hear that,
yeah.
because I think this is pretty scary kind of stuff that's going on right now. But anyhow, we were just issued an order after Thanksgiving. So if you remember, before Thanksgiving, things got tight over here.
Oh yeah.
They closed down all our restaurants to take out only. They can't do the outdoor dining thing. Everything else is pretty tightened up as well. There was a curfew, 10 o'clock. You can't go outside and be outside after 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So that's pretty drastic. But then this week, it got worse. I guess the COVID numbers have gone up here in the county of LA. And so now there's a new order. The new order prohibits all travel, including without limitation travel on foot, bicycle, scooter, motorcycle, automobile, or public transit, with limited expectations. Garcetti, who's our mayor, also ordered all residents living in the city to, quote, remain in their homes, forcing businesses that require in-person attendance to shut down.
Wow.
Gatherings that include individuals from more than one household are prohibited.
That's pretty amazing to me. I really don't know what to say to that, but yeah, it's definitely made the national media news cycle repeatedly.
So, yeah, I woke up yesterday morning after hearing about these new orders, and I got to tell you, Barry, it just really took the wind out of me. I really just, I mean, okay, so now I can't even just go outside and go for a walk. They're talking about fining people for doing that kind of thing, and it's just so crazy how they can completely shut down your life the way that they did, the way that they have. But I'm hearing, I mean, how are things going in Ohio as far as that goes? You were just talking about going to the gym. I haven't been able to go to a gym since I'm a member, but my gym's been closed since I think late June, early
Mm.
July.
Oh yeah, I thought it was longer than that. I
Yeah,
really
it opened. It actually opened for about. So it closed in March, but then it
Mhm.
opened at the end of May for about a month, and then they shut it back down again.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate on all this because this is all really tough stuff. And as we always say, every state, every city is very different from another one. And so
Mhm.
you asked about here in Ohio. Well, it's bad. I was half listening this morning to the news that a bunch of counties, like 7, are in the so-called purple zone, which is
Yeah.
really bad. So it's really bad here. They're talking a lot about hospitals that only have 15% capacity left, that they're getting very concerned about. We're
Hmm.
getting very concerned about hospital availability and I've certainly heard that about California as well. So this is where I wanted to play devil's advocate, because I don't know what is the right thing to do. We are facing a very serious pandemic here. At this point, it actually has blown into what they did predict and fear a long time ago. And
What's that?
you uh,
What did they predict?
approaching hospital maximism.
Oh, yeah.
And and my point is, with your situation, you are in such a densely populated area where if people are allowed to, okay, and I think throughout most of the country, we tried to give everybody all their freedoms as much as possible, hope that they would do the right thing based on the recommendations and in the news. And we've seen all the reports of people doing stupid stuff and having big cases of COVID outbreak. And when you're so densely populated as you are, with the diversity there, and you say, yes, okay, yes, you can walk, you can go, all the different travel restrictions say don't apply, people are going to be, a percentage of that population will abuse it. You just have so many people there. There's so many different walks of life. How do you police them? So I'm not sure what the right thing to do is when you're looking at a pandemic at this level. I really don't know. I don't know.
Well, the problem with the way, and I appreciate what you're saying, that you don't know, and I don't think anybody does really,
Right, right.
right? I mean, uh, but the problem is this: is we can't allow the cure for the problem to be the thing or the reaction to the problem to cause something even worse than what the actual problem is causing. Like if your kitchen's on fire, you don't want to do something like that causes the rest of your house to catch on fire and burn down. And what we're looking at during this pandemic is the lockdown could potentially be much more dangerous than this disease is already right now. I have this I get this it's called Imprimis. It is from
Mentioned that a
Hillsdale
while back.
College.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this epidemiologist is featured in this month's Imprimis, and he's talking about the ways that, let's see, the title of this one is actually called A Sensible and Compassionate Anti-COVID Strategy. And he goes into really talking about the science of this whole thing. But some of the stuff that comes out in this is kind of interesting. One of them is that um, the UN is actually now predicting that because of this pandemic, that 130 million additional people will starve this year as a result of the economic damage resulting from the lockdowns. 130 million. And when we start taking a look at the damage caused by COVID so far, yes, we've had some pretty tragic death here, but nothing approaching millions at this point. But 130 million dying of starvation. What a terrible thing. It also goes into some of this other stuff. many other aspects, but one of the most stunning was the mental health problems that we're seeing that's out there right now, especially among young people. The CDC is saying that young adults, between 18 and 24 have now seriously considered suicide.
Oh
And we're
yeah, that's
seeing
way
that
up, way up.
yeah, we're seeing the suicide rates up and everything. He goes on to show and make a case for the fact that it's showing the death rates between young people and people 70 and older, and obviously that's where the real problem is 70 and older. But when you factor in school closings and things like that, his point is that the young people are paying the highest price for something that's really not affecting them at all. And so I just think that these are things that we should be looking at and looking at seriously, is that this is having an impact beyond the disease that could be much, much worse. And I'm a glasses half full guy, 24/7. And so when things start to get to me, I'm thinking, well, how is everybody else dealing with this? Because I mean, it's oppressive, man. This is oppressive to me.
It is, but look at it like this: I think we're just trying to do our damnedest in the short term to contain it, while, because of a lot of great news about these vaccines, they are motoring these things out here. And I think that is positive news, very positive. So we're trying really to get on the other side of this. So, but it's, God, you see the charts on this just continuing to skyrocket in cases.
So let me make a point about that, because yes, we are seeing that. However, and you have to admit this, that for instance, the first time we were supposed to break the curve, with all these hospitalizations, we didn't want the hospitals to be overflowed, and we're going to do this lockdown for 3 weeks, and then come to find out that the hospitals really weren't in a position where they were going to be completely maxed out.
Back then.
And so what we're hearing now, oh no, this time it's really happening. But they made it seem like it was happening the last time too, even though it wasn't. So now we have a credibility problem with our political officials and also with the media, because they're constantly being like the boy who cried wolf. And so now it's like, well, should we believe them this time? That's the crazy part. Here in California, we've got our governor who is saying, hey, here's all the lockdowns. This is serious. You don't want to kill anybody. Don't go out there without your mask. Don't, you're not allowed to eat in these restaurants. Then we catch him at a restaurant eating without a mask on, and he's got all these other people there, and they're all sitting shoulder to shoulder. We weren't even allowed to have Thanksgiving before, but he's having a $3,000 meal with all of these other people. He lied and said nope, this was outside and we were social distancing. That was a lie. We have pictures now, we can see it. And come to find out, the people that he was sitting with at the dinner were all health executives from the health bureau here in the state that have helped him, that have collaborated to lock things down. So what I'm seeing here is evidence that it's not really what they're trying to tell us that it is. Now, I can't prove that, but this smacks of that. So I wanted to go into my constitutional corner here for just a second and talk about this, because I think this is something to think about.
So I want to ask you, so are you leading into your segment about? I
am.
Okay, about the Constitution. Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So last time you and I spoke, we were talking about the Declaration of Independence, right? Mm-hmm. And what we talked about here, I wanted to be able to show this on the screen, but I forgot to ask you before the show for the rights.
I can do that.
You can
real quickly.
Okay.
Yes, and you are now host.
All right. Well,
it's like you got to do it twice.
Oh, you got to double click. Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. So nice. I'm going to pull up this Declaration of Independence first. Here's why I do that: because the country's founded on that, right? Mm-hmm. This is our founding document. July 4th, 1776, it was approved by these representatives of our country. And it was a great scene. And this is explaining why we're leaving, this whole thing. And the document, as you see here, I've actually outlined some things in different colors. These green, blue, and kind of fuchsia colors here represent something. These are all offenses that King George had, that they were saying this guy's a tyrant. In fact, they said that the history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations. And then they go into them. Now it's interesting because what they've done here is everything in green is legal.
I want to mention most people actually listen to this and
That's
not
okay. I'm just
watch it.
going to explain it here.
Okay.
We've got green things that are for the legislature. And these are things that he's doing by taking legislative responsibility. And the blue is where he's taking judiciary responsibility. And the fuchsia is where he's taking responsibilities as an executive. The fact is if you take a look at this, what he's done is he's combined three powers, judicial, executive, and legislative, into one person. And as a result, he's able to make up laws and then execute them and put away all of its enemies. And every time that what the founders are making a point of is any time you combine these three powers into one person, you're going to get corruption. Or even if you just put two of them together, like for instance, the executive and the legislature together, you're going to get corruption here. And interestingly, the founders, this is something that I think is interesting. I'm going to get to a point here, but the founders actually believed that they were all God-fearing people. Not all of them Christians, but all God-fearing people.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought they were making a comparison here in the Declaration of Independence between King George and God. I've actually highlighted in yellow the areas where they call God in certain names. One of them is creator. He's the creator. But also there's natures of God. He's the God. He's the laws of nature and of nature's God. He's also the supreme judge of the world, and he's also divine providence. Those are the three branches of government. The judge is judicial. The laws of nature are our legislature, and also provision, divine provision. It's providing the blessings that have been agreed to already by the nature's laws, right? Our freedoms. Those things are representing our different branches, and they're all combined into one creator. And so really what we're looking at is that only God, because God is the one that's given us these unalienable rights, he's the only one just, and he's the only one that can actually have the power of judge, jury, and executioner and do it in a just manner. Anytime you give that to man, it's going to equal corruption. So I say that to move over to the Declaration of the Constitution. The Constitution was a outpouring of the philosophies in the Declaration of Independence. So obviously and logically, you're going to build a foundation on top of what you founded the thing on, or the purpose of which it was founded on, correct? Which is everything, these concepts. So what they did, let me share my screen one more time here. What they did was they broke down the Constitution of the United States. I got it from constitution.congress.gov, blah, blah, blah.
Fake news.
There it is. Okay, so here we go. Here's the Constitution. Finally, we get to the Constitution. Now, the Constitution came several years after the Declaration of Independence. It came in 1789. Of course, we were founded in 76. And we had another constitution before this one called the Articles of Confederacy that actually nearly destroyed our country, and we needed a new constitution. And this is what came out of it, and this is how we got our president of the United States and the current government that we have right now. By the way, our constitutional government that we have here, this constitution is the oldest one still in that's living today. Of all the countries in the world, ours is the oldest. We really have the oldest current constitutional government in the world today.
It's amazing when Europe is,
so much older.
Yeah.
But their governments have changed over the years, and ours haven't. It has not. It is incredible. Just a little known fact there. So when this came into being, it actually was started in 1787. They had this constitutional committee that came together to figure this out, and then it had to be ratified by each of the 13 colonies or states. They are laid out as far as articles and sections. So each article, and there's 7 different articles here, each article will go over a different faction or function of our government. But the first 3 are what I'm going to focus on today. Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. Article 1 is everything about the legislative branch. Article 2 is everything about the executive branch. Article 3 is everything about the judicial branch.
Cool.
So just like in the Declaration of Independence, where they're separating out and saying, if you combine these together, you're going to have corruption, the Constitution is actually laid out the same way, so that, for instance, here we're looking at Article 1, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Constitution of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. This is what I want to point out. All legislative powers. That means that the only place that you can actually make laws is through the legislative branch. You can't do it through the executive branch, and you cannot do it through the judicial branch. Now, one thing you'll notice as I just scroll through here is that Article 1 is the longest section in the Constitution. And there's a reason for that. And that is because the legislative branch is what's most beholden to you and I. We elect our House of Representatives every 2 years, and these are the ones that represent you and I most closely in what our needs are, especially the House of Representatives, because they're elected every 2 years, and almost as soon as they get into office, they have to run for office again. So if they're not actually beholden to what my needs are, they're going to get voted out. They don't have any time to dilly-dally around over there. Article 2 talks about the executive office, and all this guy does as president is execute the laws that the legislature puts into being. That's his only job. He doesn't make laws, he executes the laws. The laws that pertain to this Constitution, and he is in charge of protecting those and executing those laws. And then finally, the third section is the judicial branch, and they are responsible for judging anyone that would surpass the law in any way. It's interesting that you brought out, Barry, a couple of weeks ago, the death penalty, and we talked about our unalienable rights. And if everyone's got this unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, how could the death penalty even be legal? While that can't be taken away from you, unalienable, you can forfeit it. If you steal somebody else's life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness, then you're going to be facing this Article 3 court. And that's really the way it's laid out. Now, the reason that I bring this up, we're going to get into this more in the next few weeks, but the reason I bring this up is just for a discussion point, Barry. Mm-hmm. And that is when we take a look at our state governments right now. Let me just point one last thing out here. Article 6 says that that the last thing on it, the senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by an oath of affirmation to support this Constitution. So whether you're in federal or in state and local government, you still perform an oath of affirmation to this Constitution. So that's an important point as we take a look at what's happening with COVID today. And this is where I wanted to go, because this all relates to everything that we do today. And that's why we bring it up. And what we're seeing right now here in the state of California, in the state of Ohio, and the state of Michigan, I'm just going to pick those as examples right now because there's some serious stuff that's happening in the news right now. And that is in the state of Ohio and in the state of Michigan, for example, the state legislatures have called for impeachment of the governor. Just this week, Mike DeWine is under scrutiny for impeachment, and Governor Whitmer in Michigan are also up for impeachment. And it all has to do with the fact that the governors of both of those states have enacted legislation through the executive office without the legislatures. And that's the problem. The problem isn't so much that these restrictions have happened. The problem is how the restrictions have come about. The reason the legislature is designed the way it is because it's government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so therefore, laws that dictate how we live should only come from the legislature that perfectly represents us. When it comes from the executive office, that's only supposed to be executing the laws, but now you've combined the making of the law and the executing of the law together. The founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence put out a precedent that only can lead to corruption. And so that's what I'm concerned about today.
First of all, I gotta tell you that you did a fantastic job of laying out the framework of this to make it understandable for a dope like me, because the structure of politics has always just been mind-numbingly boring for me. But when you told us the importance of the declaration, and think of what that term is, to declaring what was right, what was wrong with existing governments, and that to declare that the three branches of government are essential. It's essential that they be divided. When you brought us into the Constitution and didn't give us too much, just the right amount to point out, now the Constitution provides the framework for each one of those three branches of government. I just thank you. You did really a heck of a job there. Now, I want to ask you, with like DeWine, for instance, and you're saying that he's overstepping his constitutional rights by executively applying laws, creating law and implementing laws.
Yes.
But isn't there provisions for emergency situations?
Not in the Constitution. The only executive privilege that you have is under wartime situation. So this is where the blurred line is okay, the governor has emergency powers. And what are those emergency powers? We're going to talk about in the next section. We're going to start to dig into each one of these sections, but we're going to talk about the purpose of federal government and what it's supposed to be, and what the state governments are supposed to be able to protect, and what they're supposed to be able to do. So yeah, there are some caveats in there. And you're right, the government is set there to help to protect us, but there's a certain way in which it's supposed to happen. And if it happens out of order, again, that's where corruption happens. Really, all of these things are supposed to come up through the legislature. and then be approved by the legislature and enacted into law. So these things can happen pretty quickly as well. But for some reason, those things have been ignored. And because the general public is not educated on the Constitution and what it says, that when the governor makes these moves, the general public says, oh, well, he's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And they're blind to the fact that he's doing something that really isn't constitutional. And this happens all the time. That's why it's so important that we read these documents. Let me just finish. I got to tell you this. This is why I became very interested in this. And it happened when I think I was 17 years old. And I was with a friend of mine, and we were out late at night on a Friday over at this guy's brother's house, who was like 25 years old. And we were in the house having a good old time, drinking, and we were underage drinking in there and everything, having a great time, playing music really loud. Suddenly, a loud knock at the door. We're all freaked out, and this guy's brother goes to it's the police. Oh my gosh, it's the police. And he says, we've gotten a complaint here and we're coming inside to check it out. And I'm in there, I can hear this guy. And I'm in there going, oh my God, I'm going to jail and my dad's going to find out about this. And I'm totally freaking out. And this guy boldly says to the police officer, you're not coming in here because you don't have a warrant. And he goes, no, I don't have a warrant. He goes, well, come back when you have a warrant. And he slams the door on the cop's face. Wow. And I'm freaking, I'm sweating. I'm expecting that door to shatter into toothpicks and the police come and drag us all out of there. But instead, what happens is the cop, kind of with his head down and his tail between his leg, goes back to the car and drives away and never comes back.
Yeah.
I say to this guy, what the heck? How did you, what? He goes, listen, you have to know your rights. And if you don't know your rights, they will be taken from you. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, boy. I never forgot that. If you don't know your rights are going to be stolen from you. And that's what that cop was about to do. If we hadn't known our rights right there, he would have come in, I would have gone to jail. Sure. My dad would have been out there, and I wouldn't be on this podcast today.
Right.
Be in heaven.
Right. And, back then, he probably got away with that behavior at least 75% of the time.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking, Barry, today, how many people, even the very little that we just went over right now, how many people actually know that? I'd say probably 99% of the people here don't know that.
I don't know about that because there's so many YouTube videos of this. I get stuck watching them sometimes, and I go down the rabbit hole. And because sometimes it's really cool to see that a person, what do I want to say? Sheds light on this police situation, this egotistical cop. Other times it just pisses me off to see these really ill-behaved citizens pushing their luck and trying to make an ass out of a cop and always walking that edge. I know my rights. And I just remember the whole spraying water on the New York cops.
Yes, I sure do. That was
like
terrible.
Right there. I just thought, boy, there should be some kind of amendment there where to head that off, that kind of antagonizing.
Okay, so I don't think there needed to be an amendment for that. I think as soon as anything like that happened, the police actually had the authority to arrest those people because exactly you're assaulting a police officer. That was Mayor de Blasio. Actually, again, here we are. You're the executive of the city. Your job is to carry out the laws of the city, not to interpret the laws the way the judicial system does and bend them the way that you want them. No, you're supposed to just execute the laws. He made a decision not to uphold the Constitution and allow his police force to actually execute the laws. There was no amendment needed right there. That was a great example that you just brought up.
Well, look at me. Where do you want to go with this?
Hey, well, to be continued. This is
Okay, good.
we've got some great stuff to talk about regarding the Constitution. We're going to get into these different articles that are in the Constitution. We'll also, one thing I left out was the Bill of Rights and the other amendments. There have been 27 amendments to the Constitution. The last one happened in 1992. We'll talk about how the fifth article of the Constitution talks about how to add new amendments to the Constitution. And there's two ways to do that. And we're going to talk about that as well, because it's super important to what's happening in the news today.
I have a quick question, though. Are there amendments on the table that are being proposed right now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. I thought
It's
you would.
very, very hard to get an amendment passed. And
Thank God.
there are amendments that should be passed too. Like for instance, it should be an amendment to produce a budget every year from the legislature, and that it is made public and that everyone can see that. We haven't, the Congress has not produced a budget in over a decade. And so just like your home, if you don't have a budget that you run on, you're gonna go broke. Well, anyway, we can go into more details of that, but these are all, the Constitution is all about protecting your rights. It's not about giving rights to the government, because as the Declaration of Independence says, your rights don't come from the government, they come from your creator. And that's all there is.
All right. I'm going to say again, you've done such a fantastic job with this, and it was a lot of work. I could see a lot of work there, and I just really appreciate it. I can't wait to see the next one. I hope it's next week, but I don't want to push you, you know?
No, I'm ready to go. I put out an outline we can talk about of all of my different lessons and what we might add to it. This is something that you could talk about indefinitely, so we'll have to figure out when to stop. But there's some really interesting stuff in here that if you didn't know, you're going to be blown away with, wait, then how come they're doing this now? Right. And it's almost like, you have these glasses now that you can see all the, oh my gosh, that's happening, and they shouldn't be doing that. If you don't know what's in there, you won't know what they're getting away with here. That's the whole thing.
Fantastic. Parting words. First, I want to say, please, people, like, share, and subscribe to our channels. And we do not seem to get any organic reach at all. We can only build our audience through your likes and your shares. So please do that, and see us at over50startingover.com. You can sign up for our Facebook page there, but most importantly, the email list, where you'll get our show notes and the episodes dropped right to your email box as they happen. Merle, I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you very much once again. I love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. See you next week.
All right.